Hey there, this is the Resistor Vic podcast. I'm here to get folks thinking about politics as something that's really about regular people like you and me, and to realize that together we can make a difference. I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to the Resistance. This is take 5, I think, of Ep7. No names, no empathy. I'm going to discuss how unaccountable power, elite protection, and cultural numbness erode our democracy from the inside out. Before I do, though, I want to talk about my shirts. You see, I've been promising for like 6 months to make my shirts available to people who wanted them. Started out, I paid some guy on Fiverr a bunch of money, said he'd give me a website, and he gave me a website. Turns out that it was just a skeleton of a website. It was in WordPress, and I don't have time to learn WordPress. Capable, just don't have the time. So then somebody else said they wanted to do it for me, and I was like, sure, okay, great, I'll pay you. And they're like, no, I want to do this for you. And now I can't even get a hold of them. So I don't know what's going on there. So I've been trying to find somebody to finish that WordPress website and haven't got there yet. But I was down in Florida last week for the NF America tour. And by the way, Charlie Kirk's event was incredibly boring. Got a bunch of little cultists running around. I mean, a bunch of young men in blue suits, long red ties, and MAGA hats. And these guys are nuts. And there was more action outside. There was a protest going on. And the protest was a moving protest, a peaceful protest. And it was moving from the north to the south, across the street, and out of sight. But as they got more to the south, a whole bunch of them young MAGA cult members came out in their suits and started following and yelling with their fists raised in the air. And I swear, if you could have put a bubble around those people and transported them through time to 1930s, 1940s Germany, they would have been the brown shirts. It was that freaky. And it makes it all more important that we support things like the NF America tour or every little piece. Because, like I've said before, the NF America tour alone is not going to turn the tide. Indivisible alone is not going to turn the tide. But all of the groups, the 501, Indivisible, Move On, Pod Save crew, everybody together, all doing our own part, is going to make the difference. And that's why I'm going to continue to support the NF America tour. But anyway, while I was down there, I flew out Sunday afternoon. So Clearwater is just a short drive away from where we were at, not too far from the airport. So I went down there to see Tom at Dagger Streetwear, Dagger Custom Apparel. He's the guy that does these Stand With Ukraine sunflower shirts that I like to wear. And I went down to see him. We did a quick little live on a Sunday morning, so not a whole lot of people saw it. And I was telling him, I wish I could get my website up and going so that I could sell my shirts to the people who have asked for them. And he said, Vic, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. He wants to put my logo on his sunflower shirt with the sunflower, the logo on the sunflower on the front and the small logo on the back. And he said, we'll still send $10 per shirt to the orphans in Ukraine, and you will get a cut of the sale for the shirt. I said, Tom, you know what? I would absolutely be honored to have my logo on your sunflower shirt, but I don't want the money. Anything that would have come to me needs to go to the orphans in Ukraine. So the deal is done. He is now doing, I'm the first and hopefully several creators that he'll do in his signature series sunflower shirts. And you can go to his website and get them. But before I tell you how to get there, he also has made a website for me so that I can sell shirts. He's going to make the shirts, and you can go to resistorvic.com, and that'll take you to the store on his site where you can buy Resistor Vic shirts and hoodies and even a tote bag, which I'm going to get one so I can go get my groceries in it. Anyway, I'm super grateful to Tom. I'm super proud to be a part of that t-shirt, the Sunflower Signature Series. If you go to resistorvic.com and go to the store, you can either get one of my shirts, or you can go to the link at the top of that on that page. There's a continue on. I forget exactly how it's worded. There's a blue bar there on the Vic stands with Ukraine part. Click on that, and that'll take you to the Sunflower site to get the Signature Series shirt. So I hope you'll do that. Buy my shirt, buy Sunflower shirt, either one. So having said that, let's get into the meat of No Name, No Empathy. And I'm going to start with ICE, the ICE Stapo. We've seen the videos for months now of ICE agents going and no identification, no warrants, covering their faces with masks, and that's not okay. We all know it's not okay. And Tom Holman of Homeland Security the other day had the cojones to step in front of a camera and say that ICE needs to keep their face protected. They're afraid of being doxxed. They're afraid for their families. Oh, well, cry me a freaking river, buddy. Because when law enforcement has the power that ICE has, transparency is required by our Constitution. Because these guys, by hiding their faces, by refusing to identify themselves, by refusing to use warrants, by busting into people's cars and dragging them out, which is 100% unconstitutional, folks. If I'm an ICE agent and I see a guy in a car, even if I know that he is a undocumented immigrant, I still do not have the legal authority to bust his window open and drag him out of his car. I know because I've looked it up. I've checked the cases and stuff. That is wholly unconstitutional, but they're doing it. So these guys, the guys who are doing this kind of thing, are afraid of being doxxed. Wah. You know what? I'm not advocating that anybody do that, dox them. I'm not advocating that anybody go after ICE agents. But I am saying that if it happens, I am not going to feel not even the tiniest bit sorry for the ICE agent that it happens to. Because you, Mr. ICE agent, and I wish there was some way that I could get people from ICE to see me say this to them. I would love for them to look me in the eye and hear me say, fuck you. You are the enemy of the people. You are the enemy of the Constitution. And I don't care what happens to you because you are no better than the 1930s, 1940s Gestapo. You do not deserve any special consideration as long as you are wearing that uniform and conducting the business of ICE in the manner that you are conducting it. Wearing a mask is nothing more than the power trying to hide your identity. Just like the power is trying to hide the identity of the oligarchs who were on Epstein's list. And that's been going on for longer than just the last month or two. Back in 2005, a woman went to the authorities and she said, "My teenage daughter told me that she was forced to take her clothes off and give massages on Epstein Island." And that opened up a whole big can of worms. Epstein was investigated by a guy in the feds called, excuse me, Alex Acosta. He was the federal prosecutor who brought numerous charges against Epstein. I mean, it was bad. And that was when they started calling Epstein Island Pedophile Island. Everybody around Florida knew it. Well, far wide past Florida, I reckon. Because there were lots of rich peoples, including Prince, what's his name? I don't want to say it because if I get it wrong, then I'm saying the wrong guy. That English prince, Bill Clinton, is known to have gone to Epstein or hang out with Epstein anyway. Lots of famous people, rich people, going to Epstein Island, and we know what was going on Epstein Island. Sure would be nice to have that list so we could know who all these people are. Anyway, the point is, back in 2005 is when he got them charges. 3 years later, miraculously, Alex Acosta gave Epstein a sweetheart deal. And when he did it, he apparently violated federal law because the law requires the victims to be a part of that process. And that didn't happen. The victims were not consulted. They were not told that this special plea deal was going to happen, but it happened. And in the plea deal, Epstein had to register as a sex offender. And he got, I want to say 30 days in jail or 130 days in jail, something like that. Except that it wasn't really in jail. See, he was in an isolated part away from other inmates, and he had a day pass every single day. They called it a daily work release. So he would wake up in the morning and go about his life as he always does, and then show up at night, maybe, who knows, and spend the night in jail and away from all the other inmates, and then wake up in the morning and go back and live his life. Never had to eat jail food, never had to be around other inmates. He had none of his liberties taken. And he was a sex offender. And this was the deal that the victims were not made aware of, were not allowed to even comment on. So that guy, Alex Acosta, became a cabinet member in Trump's first presidency. Imagine that. How does that happen? And also, let's back up a little bit before Trump's first presidency. So that was 2008. And then Pam Bondi became the state attorney general with the help of Donald Trump. Again, imagine that. So the victims, they went to Pam Bondi and said, "Madam State Attorney General, please investigate this. There's evil things going on that island. Investigate and check into this illegal plea deal." And Pam Bondi said no. So not only did Alex Acosta get a cabinet position, but Pam Bondi now has a cabinet position. So anybody who thinks there is any chance in hell that Pam Bondi is going to release that list, they're just deluding themselves. And there's no way Trump's going to fire her because she holds the list. So that's with ICE, we've got power protecting the identities of the people in government taking liberties from Americans. And now we've got the power of the government protecting the criminals at the highest level, the oligarch criminals, they're off limits because the power of the government is protecting them. And when I think about all that stuff, when I put all of that together, along with the big, beautiful budget bill, what I call the Trump tax, when I put all of that together, and then I think, there's people who not only voted for that, but continue to support it. Even after they see all of this stuff going on, they are still supporting it. They're still loyal to Trump. And then it's affecting me. It's affecting a lot of people. And the other day when those floods happened in Texas, I didn't feel anything. I am ashamed to say that my first thought was, that's in Texas, and they support Trump and what he's doing. And that's not cool. That is not even a little bit good, not okay in any way, shape, or form, because what does it say about me? I do and did feel bad for those kids who came up missing. Absolutely. It's a horrible, horrible thing that happened to them. But I couldn't bring myself to feel empathy for the people in that county. And this was before I saw the videos of the community members at the county commissioners meeting saying, don't you dare take that money from the Biden administration. And then the county commissioners did take the money, but they didn't buy the early flood warning equipment and all that stuff that it was intended for. It was meant to save lives, and it would have saved lives if they had bought it, but they couldn't because that darn Biden's just so evil. So they didn't use the money for that, but they did use the money nonetheless. They used it on their sheriff department. In fact, they used $1 million of it to pay a retired sheriff's guy to tell them how to spend the other $9 million. I mean, before I knew all of that garbage, I still didn't feel empathy for these folks, and that bothers me. It got me to thinking about Captain Gustav Gilbert. During the Nuremberg trials, he was an army captain and a psychologist, and he was tasked with monitoring the defendants in the Nuremberg trials. And when it was all said and done, he wrote a book about that experience. And one of the things he said in his book was, evil, I think, is the absence of empathy. So when I couldn't feel the empathy for those folks in Texas, what did that say about me? Does it say I'm evil? At a minimum, it said that I was on the path to becoming a part of what's happening in America, that I was becoming a cog in the machine of fascism that is being pushed by Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and Russell Vought and the Koch brothers and all of the oligarchs who are behind it. I was becoming a willing participant in what they're trying to do to my country. And I'm not good with that. Timothy Snyder in On Tyranny, he talked about how authoritarianism thrives when people stop feeling for one another. And that's what was happening. So I caught myself in time. If you're one of these folks who felt the same way I did, if you see a disaster in a red state and you say, well, they voted for it, don't do that. Don't become a willing participant in this atrocity. Because it's one thing when I lose my empathy. That's on me. That's my failure. And it's not a big deal if it's just my neighbor up the road who loses his empathy. And that's his problem, right? But when we, the people, lose our collective empathy, when we, the people, stop caring, then we, the people, have lost everything that is worth fighting for. Because that means that we, the people, have stopped resisting. And on that happy note, I think I'm going to call it a night on take 7, 8. My next guest is going to be me, probably. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be the guest on a small and I think new podcast. When I was in Florida, after the Top Shelf event was over, I noticed this guy in the crowd. He had a t-shirt on that had the Olympic wrestling logo, and on his shoulder was the Ukraine trident symbol. So I thought, I wonder. So I went up and I introduced myself, and sure enough, this kid was from Ukraine. And he was there because he went to the Charlie Kirk cultivation event, and he challenged Charlie Kirk on his belief that Russia is right, Ukraine is evil, and that America should be supporting Russia in that conflict. And I can't wait to talk to him more about that. I hope that's what we're going to talk about. It's his podcast. But maybe he'll be my guest for next week's podcast. We'll see. In the meantime, thank you for sticking with me. I hope I made it worth your while, and we'll see you next time. Good day. Well, folks, looks like we're back at the barn and it's time to call it a day. I sure do appreciate you spending your time with me. If you want to help keep this podcast going by supporting me, you can get a paid subscription on Substack, where I'm Resistor Vic. Or if you're the type that'd rather go to PayPal, I'm also resistorvic@gmail.com. Thanks again.